In this demonstration, I am going to show you how to shift the Flexible Single Master Operations, or FSMO roles, from one domain controller to another. So before we start the demo, there are two domain controllers in this environment, SEA DC1 and SEA SVR1. Let's get started. So the first thing I do is I run from a PowerShell session the netdom query FSMO command. And in running that command, I can see where all of the FSMO roles lie. And you can see here that all of them are sitting on SEA DC1. So I clear the PowerShell screen, and what I do is I register the Schema Management DLL with the operating system. This is necessary to use the Schema Management Console. I open up the Microsoft Management Console, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the Schema Management snap-in. So I click OK. I right-click on Active Directory Schema, and then I change the active server. Here, I type in SEA SVR1. It resolves that server. I select it. I click OK. Now, the reason I'm doing this is that I need to connect to the server that I wish to transfer the role to make this transfer operation. So now that I've connected to SEA SVR1, I can right-click on Active Directory Schema, select Operations Master, and I can see the current Schema Master is SEA DC1, and then the Active Directory domain controller that I've connected to, SEA SVR1, is my option for moving that role. So I click Change, and this changes the Schema Master Operations role. I click Close. Okay, so that's the first role we've transferred. Let's move another one. I open Administrative Tools. I move to Active Directory Domains and Trust, and I do the same operation here. I change my Active Domain Controller and say go and connect to SEA SVR1. And when I do that and click OK, SEA SVR1 becomes the domain controller I'm connected to with this console, and then I can select the Operations Master item, and this allows me to move the domain naming Operations Master from SEA DC1 to SEA SVR1. So I click Change, and that Operations Master role is moved. The next console I open is Active Directory Users and Computers, and I'm going to use this console to change the last three Operations Master roles. So Active Directory Users and Computers opens. I select Change Domain Controller. I again make sure that I am connected to SEA SVR1. I click OK. Now that I've got a connection to that particular domain controller with this console, I can go to Operations Master, and this gives me a dialog box that allows me to move the RID master, the PDC emulator, and the infrastructure master. And it's the same basic process. So all I need to do is on the RID page, click Change, and it moves the RID across. I can select the PDC emulator, click Change, click Yes, and that'll move that role across. And I can select the infrastructure master, click Change, and click Yes, and that will move that role across. I click Close. I open up my management console. I clear the screen, and then I go back and run that netdom query FSMO roles, and I see that they're all now sitting on SEA SVR1 because I've transferred them to that domain controller. Now, as you are probably quite aware, there's a multitude of ways that you can actually transfer your FSMO roles. You can use PowerShell, which we're not going to show you here, or you can also use the NTDS utility. This is a slightly older way of performing this operation, but it's still supported. So we select roles, we connect to server SEA DC1. Once we've done that, we enter FSMO role maintenance, and we transfer the Schema Master. And what we're doing here is we're transferring this role back from SEA SVR1 to SEA DC1. Remember when we did it with the console, what we did is we connected to the server that we wanted to transfer to, and then we made the transfer. So as these are all sitting on SVR1, we're pushing them back to DC1. So, next, we use the command transfer naming master. Hit enter, click yes, and we've moved that one across. Now we're moving RID master. We click yes. We transfer the infrastructure master. We click yes. And then we transfer the PDC emulator. Click yes. We quit because we've moved all the roles. We quit again. We clear the screen and then we do our netdom query and we verify that everything has been moved back to SEA DC1. So in that demonstration, you saw how to transfer FSMO roles using consoles and using NTDS utility.